Have you ever wondered who decides what you learn in school? Why do you study math and history, but maybe not financial literacy or coding? And what are the unwritten rules you pick up along the way, like how to please a teacher or fit in with your classmates? These aren't random questions. They're at the very heart of a fascinating field called curriculum theory. Think of curriculum as the roadmap for education. Every course you've ever taken, from kindergarten art to a university seminar, follows a plan. But curriculum theory digs much deeper than just a list of subjects. It asks us to see the curriculum not just as a plan, but as a powerful social, political, and cultural force. As the famous scholar Michael Apple put it, curriculum is a political document. This is a huge idea. It means that what we learn is never neutral. It's always packed with values, power dynamics, and ideas about what kind of society we should be. So let's break this down. What exactly is curriculum? The word itself comes from the Latin word currere, which means to run a course. It's like a racetrack for learning. Originally, it just meant the subjects you had to master. But our understanding has grown. A better definition comes from Ralph Tyler, who described curriculum as all the learning experiences a school plans to help students reach their educational goals. This is much broader. It includes activities, field trips, and projects, not just textbooks. But even that doesn't cover everything. Theorists talk about three types of curriculum. First, there's the formal curriculum. This is the official stuff, the syllabus, the textbooks, the state standards, the final exams. It's what's written down and officially taught. Second, there's the informal curriculum. This is all the learning that happens outside of formal lessons. Think about school clubs, sports teams, conversations in the hallway, and the overall school culture. These experiences teach us a lot about teamwork, social skills, and our own interests. And third, there's the most intriguing one, the hidden curriculum. This term was coined to describe all the unwritten, unofficial lessons we learn at school. It's the stuff nobody explicitly teaches, but everyone learns anyway. Lessons about obedience to authority, how to compete with others, what's considered normal for boys and girls, and how to navigate social hierarchies. As educator Philip Jackson said, schools teach far more than they intend to teach. The hidden curriculum shows us that education is always shaping our values and beliefs, often without us even realizing it. So, where did this whole field of study come from? Curriculum theory really took off in the early 20th century in the United States. This was a time of massive industrial growth and the expansion of public schooling. Society needed a workforce that was efficient, disciplined, and productive. Early thinkers like Franklin Bobbitt saw education as a manufacturing process. He literally said, "Education is a shaping process as much as the manufacture of steel rails." His idea was to design a curriculum that would scientifically prepare students for their specific roles in adult life. This scientific approach was perfected by Ralph Tyler in his hugely influential 1949 book. Tyler gave us a simple, logical framework that many schools still use today. He said that to design any curriculum, you have to answer four fundamental questions. 1. What are our educational goals? 2. What learning experiences will help us achieve them? 3. How can we organize these experiences effectively? And 4. How will we know if we've succeeded? This is called the technical rational model. It's all about setting clear objectives and measuring results. It made curriculum planning logical and systematic, which is why it became so popular around the world. But of course, not everyone agreed that education should be like a factory assembly line. Over time, different schools of thought emerged. Let's look at a few of the big ones. First, you have the traditional or technical approach, building on Tyler's work. It's focused on efficiency. You have clear learning objectives, standardized content for everyone, and teacher-led instruction. Think of national curricula and standardized tests. It's great for accountability, but critics say it can turn learning into a box-ticking exercise and stifle creativity. Then came the progressive approach, championed by the philosopher John Dewey. Dewey had a radically different idea. He famously said, "Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself." For progressives, learning should be active, hands-on, and centered on the student's interests and experiences. The curriculum should be flexible, and the goal is to prepare students to be active, thoughtful citizens in a democracy. It's all about problem-solving, creativity, and social engagement. Next, we have the constructivist approach. This theory argues that students don't just passively receive information. They actively construct their own understanding of the world. Therefore, the curriculum shouldn't be a rigid script to be memorized. Instead, it should be a guide for inquiry and exploration. Learning is a social process that depends on context. The goal is for students to build meaningful knowledge, not just spit back facts. A more radical perspective is critical curriculum theory. Thinkers in this camp, like the Brazilian educator Paulo Freire, argue that curriculum is never separate from power and politics. They ask who gets to decide what knowledge is important, whose stories are told, and whose are left out. Critical theorists see traditional education as a system that can reproduce social inequalities based on class, race, and gender. Freire believed education could either be a tool for conformity or, as he called it, the practice of freedom. This approach pushes us to design curricula that challenge injustice and empower marginalized communities. And finally, more recent approaches like postmodern and decolonial theory challenge the very idea of a single, universal curriculum. They argue from multiple perspectives, valuing local contexts and indigenous knowledge systems that have often been ignored by Western-centric education. They point out that many curricula still carry the legacy of colonialism and push for a decolonization of knowledge, making education more inclusive and representative of the whole world. So, if we boil it all down, what are the core parts of any curriculum? First, you have objectives, the destination of the learning journey. What should students know or be able to do by the end? Second is content, the actual knowledge, skills, and values being taught. And here, we must always ask that crucial question, what knowledge is of most worth? Third, you have methods, the how of teaching. Are we using lectures, group projects, or hands-on experiments? And finally, there's assessment, how we check if learning has happened. Curriculum theory encourages us to move beyond simple tests and use authentic, real-world tasks and continuous feedback to support learning. You can see these ideas in action everywhere. In schools, curriculum theory shapes everything from subject choices to teacher training. In universities, it guides the design of entire degree programs. And on a larger scale, curriculum defines a nation's identity, what it means to be a citizen, and what kind of future it wants to build. As one scholar said, curriculum defines what society considers legitimate knowledge. Now, this field isn't without its challenges. Critics worry that overly standardized curricula can crush innovation and ignore the unique needs of students. There's a constant tension between having a structured, coherent plan and allowing for the flexibility and freedom that true learning requires. Today, curriculum theory is grappling with new trends. We're seeing the rise of competency-based education, which focuses on skills rather than just knowledge. Digital and online platforms are changing how content is delivered. And there's a huge push for curricula to be more inclusive, culturally responsive, and to decolonize what we teach. In the end, curriculum theory teaches us a vital lesson. Education is not just about transmitting information. It's about shaping human beings, our identities, and our societies. It's about the story a society tells its children about what truly matters. And the most powerful thing about curriculum theory is that it gives us the tools to read, question, and, when necessary, rewrite that story for a better, more just future. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into the world of education interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content that makes you think. See you next time.